What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Profit Roadmap. We're your hosts, Ryan and Becca. This is the premier podcast created for field service pros to help you grow your business, stay on top of the latest trends, and help you provide even more value to the communities that you serve. Now, today, we actually have three special guests that are here to talk to us about marketing, the best strategies to win new clients, and proven automation strategies for marketing and beyond. So we're excited to welcome back a fan favorite, Mike Callahan from SimpleGrowth, a service Autopilot certified advisor. As you might remember, Mike quickly grew his lawn care business by making some big changes to his daily operations, set up his business so that it could be maintained with the right automated systems in place for sustainable and scalable growth without him needing to be present in the business 24/7. Now that led to the creation of SimpleGrowth and helping other service businesses scale for massive growth as well. Mike, how you doing today?
Good, Ryan. Back, good. Glad to have me back, and good to see you today.
Absolutely. Talking to an old friend today. All right. We're also joined by Eddie Childs, Director of Corporate Marketing, and Christopher St. Jean, Director of Digital Marketing for leading home service marketing agency Mediagistic. With unique solutions that scale from local to national marketing, Mediagistic has been helping home service companies of all sizes for 20 years. Eddie, Chris, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Ryan. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're glad to have all you guys here.
All right.
Becca, how are you doing today? I didn't ask you.
I'm doing well, Ryan. Thank you. It's nice and hot.
No problem. I don't want to leave anybody out, you know?
Yeah.
That sounds like Texas. Eddie and Chris, could you guys tell us a little bit about Mediagistic, the types of clients you serve, and the areas of marketing that you guys work in?
Yeah, sure. Eddie, I'll jump in here and add as you want here. So like a lifetime ago, we started as a sports marketing company working with like NASCAR, Air Jamaica, and really helping them at kind of that local marketing kind of level. And that just evolved into what we are today. So we kind of transitioned into Mediagistic for, like you mentioned, 20 plus years. We've really been kind of honing in on that, local marketing at scale, developing local marketing strategies at sort of all levels there. Really specialize in home services. That's kind of our bread and butter, really kind of, leaning in there. The kind of subspecialty of like HVAC, plumbing, and electric is really our kind of core, specialization. But we're a typical agency. We've also got other divisions in travel and tourism, outdoor power equipment, family entertainment centers. So a little bit kind of a typical marketing advertising agency, but specialization in home services and local marketing.
And Mike, could you tell us a little bit about SimpleGrowth?
Yeah, SimpleGrowth was started about 5 years ago. It was really from my journey of growing my lawn care business and creating an automated solution from literally working 6-7 days a week, literally 80 to 100 hours a week, to creating systems that were fully automated and creating accountability within the business, to literally going from 3 to 5 hours a week to an absentee owner. At that point, we really had a new purpose, and that was we help business owners take their life back from their business. So that's kind of the journey that we've been on. We've done a few marketing automations, complete with content for the lawn care and home cleaning industry. And an interesting fact is probably 10 or 11 of our current team members of almost 30 full-time people now have all been past clients. So through the automations that we've built, they've actually grown, sold their businesses, and in their early 30s to mid 40s have come back and said, "Hey, Mike, what do? We sold this business." So we have a pretty good team of experts that have not only lived it on the business side, but now can understand it from the SimpleGrowth side. So we get the whole literally life cycle of our client from front to back. So right down to Dylan, who's our first client, was now our first salesperson, who's actually running now the sales division.
Amazing.
Such a cool story, Mike. I love hearing it every time. Eddie and Chris, what kind of marketing do home service businesses need compared to other industries?
I don't think it's that much different. I mean, we sort of have this philosophy, like a comprehensive marketing plan is your best sort of, your best chance of success for long-term growth. I would say a little bit different in home services is just like the time of need marketing. I mean, if you think about what we specialize in, HVAC and plumbing, electric, like, I'm in Florida. When my air conditioning breaks, it's an emergency. I mean, it is. So
I get it. I'm down in Fort Myers, so
you understand.
I know.
So while we're building these comprehensive plans, our sort of foundation is to make sure our clients are kind of, acquiring those lower funnel leads, making sure you're getting those time of need, high intent searches, because that's the sort of foundation of what that industry is built on. So, again, best long-term success is comprehensive plan of branding and lead gen, but you've got to make sure you've kind of handled that lower funnel, time of need lead gen for sure.
Yeah. And really to add on to what Chris is saying, it really comes down to intent. And arguably intent is way more important in home services than it really is in a lot of other industries. Like if you're selling like sports apparel or some other kind of like high affinity retail product, you kind of have it pretty easy because you can rely on consumers to spend their discretionary income on those items. And that's not really the case in home services, because if you really think about it, the consumer sees HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing repairs, etc., as an unplanned expense. And they're not likely to spend their free time shopping for new equipment online when it's not broken. So, being able to reach beyond that kind of like low intent model that Chris, kind of low funnel intent model that Chris just laid out, and also sell longer buying cycle, like preventative items like maintenance contracts, tune-ups, IAQ products, drone inspection services, if you're like in the roofing industry, sewer camera inspections, that all requires tapping into the power of your database and taking a heavily educational and consultative approach. And that's really where like email marketing and marketing automation with tools like Marketing Edge can come into play, in addition to that time and need bottom of the funnel tactic. And you can really drive greater average customer lifetime value and even more share of wallet from the consumer by doing things like that. So when you take that low funnel intent stuff where you're really pounding like existing search volume in the search engines and you kind of layer on that piece, that's really, kind of this sort of marketing that home services really need.
Well, Mike, to balance that out, what kind of, you've worked with a lot of companies, by the way, because I've been here a while, so I always hear your name here, Service Autopilot, since I've been here in 2013. But so I know you've worked with a lot of companies. What kind of marketing techniques or styles work for the service businesses consistently, do you feel?
Yeah, I can agree with Chris and Eddie for sure right off the bat. The way we approach it, very similar to what Eddie was talking about, I think kind of similar is we approach it from a life cycle marketing, or kind of the new fancy term now is life cycle automations. But it's really going in particular to where they're at in the customer life cycle. So if you're going in and someone's looking for, basic example of lawn mowing or home cleaning, you've got someone who's a lead looking to actually purchase that. So you want to be able to talk to them in that phase. We're going to educate them and basically build a more perceived value to the service, and then overcome any sales or price objections to shorten that sales cycle. As they continue, they're going to have a quote or a bid that we need to close on. And as they become a client, there's other certain things when we welcome and acclimate them that we need to do to build trust. And then finally, on the back end, as Eddie was talking about, there's ancillary add-ons or upsells that we want to be able to go in to take that client lifetime value or ticket value from maybe $100 and work it up to $200 to $300. And hopefully, if we're doing it correctly, utilizing that database and segmenting it to have a personalized but automated conversation. And the idea is, if you're maybe doing fertilization and weed control, if you're licensed, you could probably add on perimeter pest and mosquito and do it all in the same stop. And once you've added an extra 10 minutes of time, and you've tripled your ticket value. So those are the things we're looking at: is where are they at in the life cycle, and let's segment that database in a personalized but automated way that resonates. And the key, and I'm sure Eddie and Chris do it as well, is something we call omni-channel marketing. And we're going to talk over multiple communication channels. So if you've never heard omni-channel marketing, it's just really a fancy term to saying multiple communication channels. And the ones we really try to drive is phone, text message, email, and potentially a ringless voicemail bomb, where it hits a cell phone on file, looks like a missed call, and it's a personalized voicemail, not like a robocall. But those are kind of the ways we look at it and we address those.
It's interesting you mentioned personalized but automated, because I know recently we had a training with a company heavy on sales, and they mentioned that when we were talking to them about automations, they were like, well, I don't want to forget that personal touch, that door-to-door interaction, speaking to them in person. So I thought that was interesting that you mentioned that you could still achieve that with automations.
Question for all you guys real quick. For people that don't have a lot of time to invest into marketing, what are some of the things that they might be able to do to automate that?
Yeah. So basically, if you're tight on a budget and you're not, what are the things you can do to market is it really, some of the cheapest things you can do is brand awareness. So social media right now is huge. Gentleman, friend of the family, kind of now I met through Service Autopilot in the early days with Jonathan Patoshnik, the co-founder of SA. Garrett Matthews owns Matthews Tree and Pest out of Shreveport, Louisiana. Garrett hasn't missed a single day of organic posting in Shreveport, Louisiana in the last 5 years. He's just a dominant force. So whenever you think of lawn care or pest control, he's top of frame of mind. So he's doing that through his branded trucks, uniform people, and social. And he's not selling anything. All he's literally doing is educating you how to do the service as a professional if you want to go out and do it yourself. And one of the cool stories is he works in a lot of these affluent neighborhoods, but one of the gentlemen that was becoming a doctor couldn't afford his services, but he was interacting with his page, constantly asking him how to prune certain things or how to fertilize certain things. And then when he became a doctor, he had the money to actually hire Garrett. But who do doctors hang out with? Other doctors. So Garrett attributed that gentleman just from referring people in his neighborhood to almost $500,000 of annual sales over the first 12 months of working with him. So you don't necessarily have to go out and spend the money to do it if you don't have it, but you need to create a brand and be out there and provide valuable and relevant information when people are looking for it.
Yeah. And to add to that, I would say a lot of it comes down to figuring out what those specific actions are in your field service management software or your CRM and mapping those to the outcomes you want to achieve. So, like, for instance, if you have a service call that doesn't result in a maintenance plan, you can put that customer, like, automatically trigger that customer into a drip sequence that will help to convert those customers into maintenance plan, business for your business. So, another example would be specific data points in your CRM or FSM. For example, if you're an HVAC dealer, I'm just going to use an HVAC dealer because that one's really easy. We all know that lifetime of the system is like a major point where the consumer really needs to start considering buying a new system, right? Once you reach 10 years with a piece of HVAC equipment, your tier ratings start going down exponentially year over year, and the efficiency of that system becomes really, really kind of on a diminishing set of returns. So that would be the point where, if you have that data point mapped in your CRM, FSM, and you're able to attach an inbound sequence, like an email sequence, or even launch, a whole sequence of social media ads and whatnot to target those users, you're probably going to see more system sales because you're taking that educational approach. And instead of relying just on existing demand, like you would in paid search, you're creating demand for your product and services. So that sounds difficult, right? Next to maybe what a lot of people would say there. But once you have that content kind of planned out and you've created those automations in your FSM, CRM, it really becomes set it and forget it. So my answer would be that automation itself doesn't actually require a lot of your time once you get the setup done. So that's really kind of where I would point a dealer or a home services business. It's really looking to take advantage of automation and really build something powerful for their brand.
But a tool, using a third-party software tool, that's what it is. It's a simplification of that.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, that you actually do need a marketing automation platform in order to take advantage of a field service management or CRM. But yeah, that piece, Chris, you're absolutely right. Having a tool like that is going to be invaluable for taking automated marketing to that next level.
Yeah. And Becca, Service Autopilot has some capabilities like that, right? I'm more the field edge side, so.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll defer to you.
Yeah, and I think
That's
so.
awesome.
Eddie hit on. I think a lot of people, if you're listening to this, you may want to really pay attention to Service Autopilot. We were really kind of blessed that the automation tool is built within the actual service software, so it can natively tie into the triggers and functions or the service dates. If you're using a separate something like Infusionsoft or HubSpot, there's going to be an API that connects the two softwares. And those hooks and triggers to make sure they're updated in real time is very, very important. But I think what Eddie was alluding to as well is I want to touch on it because this is really the key to the success of those campaigns is sweeping through and looking at certain things like have they had the service done in a certain amount of time? Is an estimate in play? Is it on a waiting list? Is there certain things? And right before that goes out, we sweep through and check that logic. And then if it fits what you're looking at based on that 10-year point, moving forward, if none of those things have happened, then we fire that off. But it's how we make it extremely personalized and relevant. I think the worst thing we see, at least in the lawn care industry, we'd probably see in HVAC as well, is like, hey, it's time to get your spring cleaning, your spring tune-up. If you've already requested an estimate or got it done, just ignore this. And really, that's how you can really turn off your database and spam your client.
Just to stay on that, what I've seen a big shift is like when you start to scale up and then you have those built-in maintenance customers, you're trying to schedule those tune-ups. You don't want those scheduled in the peak of your season in the summer. That's where you're supposed to be making your money. So using more tools to help pace those out and make sure those, those reminders are sent on schedule, on your schedule. I think that's a key as you help scale.
Yeah. Just quickly go back to Mike's point, that kind of automation where you are setting a trigger again and trying to produce an outcome feels very personalized to the consumer without a whole lot of effort on the part of you as a marketer, as a brand. And you're, if you're not doing that, to Mike's point, your email deliverability is going to go down eventually, and your unsubscribes are going to go way up. It's going to affect your sender reputation as a domain. So that's why personalizing these touch points with the consumer is just super important, because a lot of brands are being super lazy right now about like, oh, if you've already had this, please ignore it. Just like Mike said, that doesn't feel personalized. That doesn't feel relevant. And chances are eventually the consumer is going to get tired of it. And they're going to stop paying attention to your content at best, and they're going to mark you as spam or unsubscribe at worst. So
and if you're watching this live too, I think there's something to really be aware of. There's a lot of regulations coming in through Twilio and other SMS or text message carriers. So email marketing is not dead. Actually, we're probably going to see a resurgence of it, if I was to guess. But those automated renewals and things that Eddie's talking about, don't just make it personal in the segmentation, but make the actual marketing content document look like an actual person sent it. And I think Ryan and Becca, we talked about it on a previous cast, but like one of our emails actually looks like it's sent from the estimator's iPhone. It looks personal. People are going to see it if they're scrolling through media. Their eyes are kind of tuned into what looks like an ad or trying to sales pitch. If you've got logos blasted out all over your emails and things like that, the open rate and the conversion ratio would probably be lower. There's a time and place for it, but if you're making a personal conversation, make it look personal and actually make it through different merge fields or liquid syntax in the software. Make sure that actually is personal.
It's interesting because psychology plays a lot into this. Like people want to be, made to feel special, like you, like know them or notice them. So, but then it makes a difference. I know it, like if someone knows my name or remembers a conversation or something, it makes a huge difference in like me returning and, yeah.
What is that old saying that like the sweetest sound that anybody can hear is their own name?
So, absolutely. So social media has been mentioned a few times, and I'm interested because we have all kind of social media platforms now these days. So how do you stand out? There's like oversaturated sometimes with content and noise. So how do like service or home service industries like stand out amongst all of that? I know algorithms play a big role in that too, which I didn't realize until recently. There's just so much into that.
Yeah.
You know what we started to see? I mean, one is just like we love video. People just are, more attracted to that sort of media, and that sort of makes you stick out. But the one thing I've been kind of leaning to is just the humanization. Like when you humanize your brand and again, you see personalization, those kind of things. But like if you're just bombarded with a bunch of offers and ads and numbers, it's just different. When you make your brand human and a connection to people, people buy from people, that same adage, I think that helps stand out. We're just seeing better engagement rates with that. Just, again, take your sort of like corporate sort of side out of your brand and make it more human. I think that's where you cut through some of the noise on those channels.
Yeah. And to your point, Chris, I mean, and to your point, algorithms do play a piece in that. Organic, if we're talking about the meta platforms, organic reach on those platforms is pretty crummy because of the way the meta platforms roll. They really are trying to squeeze everybody for the last dollar on paid. So paid amplification is important now, but that's not really what you ask. You ask, how do you stand out? Vertical short form video is king on these platforms right now. Why? Because the meta platforms are trying to compete with TikTok right now, and that's where you're going to get the most use for your squeeze in terms of organic mileage, because that's the one place where meta platforms are willing to take a loss, so you can still get a lot of return on your investment by taking advantage of reels and even stories to a lesser extent. But that's all vertical video. That's all video that's shot with your phone upright. And then to Chris's point, if you can create content that can both humanize your brand, tell a great story, and show value, and maybe if you can layer in whatever the most recent trend is and you pull all that together into like a really short video, I'd say 15 seconds or less, you're going to be killer. That's organic. I mean, I would always lean into paid amplification as well, just because that's where 90% of your brand exposure is going to happen at the end of the day. But those are kind of tactics that you can use to make your brand stand out, without really digging too deep into like exactly what's hot right now,
Yeah. And to lead on that, I think these guys definitely nailed it. But I think one word, consistency. It's a long-term play. And a lot of people that come into a local market, especially in home service, they'll get on a social media binge and they'll post a ton of videos and they can't keep the pace. So it's got to be consistent each week after week. But it's a long-term play. People aren't going to social to buy for the most part. It's a pattern interrupt. So you just want to be showing up regularly with the same branding, the same human touch, and be able to relate. But that's where people fail. They get in 6-7 weeks at best, and they're like, it's not working. I'm not seeing anything. At SimpleGrowth, I will tell you, it took about 12 to maybe 14 months before we saw any traction. And let's face it, your videos are probably going to suck the first time you do it. So it really doesn't matter. No one's going to see them.
Yeah.
But it was magic, man. When that hit, it was like the phone started ringing. And it was like, what just happened? It was like the videos hit.
Wow.
I want to.
All of our data shows, same for media. It's like you have to have enough imprints with that brand, multiple for even to be a recall, and then much less a resonance there. So yeah, great word, consistency for sure.
And I mean, posting regular content that's not even video content to keep feeding the machine will work. I would also say be responsive to your messages and your reviews on all social platforms, because I mean, if we're talking about meta, you get an algorithmic advantage if you are responsive on your page within 24 hours. Anybody who's like taking a lot longer to be responsive, like you don't see the same kind of return organically. But yeah, that really kind of sums that up for sure.
I want to kind of piggyback on. Oh, I'm in a room full of experts, so the whole like make your videos and post them. I think something that a lot of people might get hung up on is like the polish of their video. Going back to like humanizing the brand and the content and everything. While I'm here, let me ask you guys, what do you guys think is like the rule for like polish on a video? Like, does it have to be a super high production value, or can it be just pull out your phone, do the thing, and post it?
I think it can be that. We've seen a lot of great success. I mean, the iPhone camera and video is amazing.
It's so good.
It's like, I can't keep up with this. It's amazing. It's really the messaging. If you can do that, I think people get too hung up, and maybe that's that they get stuck in that analysis paralysis of like, I need this big, production to make that. I don't think you do. I think you just, if you're planned out of what you're trying to accomplish with that plan, you make sure your messaging is tight. You just get the camera out and shoot yourself or shoot your team making that message. I think that's all you need. And to Mike's point, it's like, just get it out there. Like, you're going to learn through that iteration. So it's like, just start getting them in the market, and you're going to see that engagement of which kind of, which one's really working, and then, optimize from there. But don't get hung up on, don't get me wrong. There's value in a production. I don't want to discount production, yep. But I also just think that barrier is more removed than it once was, where, people, the equipment is not the issue. So
to Mike's point and Chris's point about consistency being key, one thing I'll tell you right now is that viral is not a strategy, right? Like, every marketer will tell you that. Like, make it go viral. Like hold up.
Do you guys get that a lot?
If you think about, we don't get it a lot.
Thank you for saying. Thank you for saying.
Clients are actually work with, and they don't really they don't hassle us too much about that kind of thing. But the point is that every piece of social media you create is kind of a lottery ticket, right? I mean, in reality, in the meta news feed, and maybe less so in like TikTok and some of the other platforms, content has a longer lifespan there. But in the meta news feed, you probably have about a shelf life of 15 to 30 minutes, maybe a day if you're lucky. for that content to really continue to show in the newsfeed. And that's where 90% of your brand touches are going to be. They're not going to be on your wall where you publish the content. Once content's published and it's gone from the newsfeed, it's also gone from the consumer's mind. They stop thinking about it. So that means that you have a lot of latitude to play around and experiment, first off, and then B, I mean, they do say social media lives forever. It does live on your wall, so don't get me wrong on that. But in terms of it being super visible, that's kind of like your general shelf life for content. So if you're able to consistently create content that looks pretty good, like Chris said, I mean, I would go out and get a good iPhone or a good Android that has a good camera. I wouldn't say just shoot it on on a brick, but
my flip phone,
on a toaster, like on a 2008 Razr or something.
Oh man!
But the point is that the consumers are conditioned now to look at grainier quality video. I think if the concept's good, you're building that value, you're building that human touch, and you're able to articulate what's different about your brand and tell a good story around it. They're going to forgive some minor quality things and some of those things, and just remember, it's not a TV commercial. Doesn't need to be produced to that quality and that level. And it's not something that's going to appear on streaming media like OTT. This is the meta news feed or TikTok or, Instagram or wherever you're publishing this content. It's a flash in the pan. It's a quick hit. So that's why consistency is important, because every single one of those you put out there is a lottery ticket. One of them could go viral, but that's why you have to be consistent, because you have to keep kind of putting out content, and that's really kind of the name of the game now. And then finally, there's just nothing worse than starting a business page on any of these platforms and letting it die, because when a consumer sees a dead page, they think you're out of business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to think you're out of business. And then your competitor down the street, sure as heck, is still producing video consistently, and they're going to look like they're in business and you're going to look like you're not. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I would really just say, like I said, first draft is better than no draft. The other thing that I see a lot of home service business owners kind of look at, and I did in the early days, so probably date myself, but we were doing this probably 10, 12 years ago when we really started the content game. There's a great book called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, and he talks about just basically the different concepts. He talks about SEO and a few other things, but the main thing is you've got an invaluable resource really sitting at your desk. When you're picking up the phone, people are asking you the same questions over and over and over again. And you as a business professional think they're just like dumb questions because you answer them, you're professional, you know the answers. But start thinking about the questions, the concerns, the objections. Let's face it, most people don't trust themselves to hire a contractor, and they definitely don't trust us as a contractor with a lot of the stereotypes and things we see in the news. But there's a way to become better in your market, and that's through social, building that know, like, and trust through those videos. And it's not all for naught. And Eddie's right, they don't live there forever. But if you take a simple step, whether it's a third party, you have somebody in your office, download those videos. Hopefully you're broadcasting to YouTube as well, but get the YouTube video with the transcript and get that on your website. The transcript doesn't have to show, but you can kind of compress it. But as now the algorithms and for SEO start to search your website, all the content you've got, hundreds or thousands of videos are living on the back end of a learning hub in the back of your website. And now you've got SEO rich content that's just living there.
Yeah, it's a really good point. YouTube's the second biggest search engine. A lot of people don't realize that. Now you have to shoot your video like this for YouTube, so that makes it a little more challenging if you're trying to shoot vertical and horizontal. But you're right, Mike. Being able to feed content to YouTube and then bring it back to your website with full transcripts is massive from an SEO standpoint. It's a really good way to get the most mileage out of social media and video creative for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of cheap platforms. I think the one we use is Be Live, and it even has a mobile app, but we can simultaneously screen to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and sometimes, depending on the setting, of private groups within the Facebook groups. So we're really diving right in and living in that community of our target avatar. So that's been huge. But I mean, you don't know what's going to hit, and the videos you think that aren't going to resonate will light the phones up. So it's really, it's what's going on now, and then what's going to happen in the near future. So if you're in like lawn care or you're going into the heating season, like in the winter, we're talking about the things that are going to happen a month, maybe a month and a half ahead. We're starting to plant those seeds, and that's how we can proactively get ahead of those buying cycles as well.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
BeLive sounds like it's really cool. Like it'll save you a ton of time. Just getting everywhere. Quick question for Mike. I want to change the topic a little. Well, kind of continue the topic with what I'm thinking about BeLive. For service businesses that are maybe new to marketing, beyond just posting organically on Facebook, where do you think that they should start with marketing?
I think probably the first thing you want to do is really get clear about your perfect client avatar. Who do you serve? Basically, what are their pain points? Where do they hang out? And get really clear on who you're servicing. So is it residential? Is it commercial? Is there certain neighborhoods? Like, what does that perfect client look like? Because we all have clients that we love, and we have clients that we just kind of hate, honestly. But you're going to see some common trends, and you're going to see that maybe they're hanging out at certain home shows or garden clubs or wherever that is. I'll bring Garrett Matthews up again. He knows his client avatar hangs out in these gated communities that traditionally have a golf course and tennis courts in the gated communities. The interesting thing is you can't get into those gated communities to do door-to-door or flyers. They're very strict. So what did he do? He went out and bought a trailer with 2 brick oven pizzas he installed on there. And he goes in and has free movie events inside these gated communities and gives away free pizza. And he brands them up. He's got koozies, free beer. So who are they going to think about when they need a lawn care company? So you got to actually get creative, because some of the traditional ways won't get you in front of the actual client avatar you want. So really clearly define it, figure out where they hang out and how they buy, and be creative and get ahead of it. Because it may not be Facebook ads or Google ads or different things like that. You may boots on the ground be able to get ahead of them and provide some value. And his client acquisition cost through that strategy, I think, is about 50% less than his other acquisition strategies.
Wow. Yeah, that's a fantastic point, Mike. The consumer behavior in different service areas, it's always going to vary from service area to service area. No two service areas are going to be exactly alike. So taking that really kind of like consumer first methodology and digging into what the consumer really wants and what their behaviors are is killer. You know, I mean, I couldn't recommend something better myself. Now, if we're talking about like tactics, like what are the first things to do from an order of operations standpoint in terms of building a foundational marketing presence, I'd probably say, I mean, that's number one. So let's put that there. I would start with the things that are kind of the blocking and tackling of having a digital marketing presence, right? So Google Business Profile is your homepage in the Google search engine results page. Like that, it's one of the highest value places to be, and from an organic standpoint, it maps the search behavior like just on a one-to-one basis. Because when you really think about it, Google's search engine results page over the last 10 years has become incredibly fragmented. You know, like if you think about what a search engine results page looked like 10 years ago, it was 10 blue links it was 15 or whatever blue links, and the ads were on the side, and that was how we all searched back then. Now, when you go look up any kind of home service, what you're going to see is you're going to see Google products. That's all you're going to see. You're going to see local service ads, the green ones that say Google guaranteed. You're going to see paid search ads. You're going to see the local map pack, right? The local map pack that actually shows 3 or 4 placements, just depending on your market, and the Google map in your reviews and kind of your Google information. It'll show you where you're located, and then it'll show the traditional search. So that's why Google Business Profile, getting one up and running, getting your business information accurate, not just there, but all over the web, because that helps show up in the map pack. I would say that's like mission critical to getting you as a business like up and running and start making the phones ring. Now, once you get that going, website, right? Website's super important because that's going to get you down in the actual like traditional search results, and then start layering in those low intent search pieces, local service ads, and paid search. Because why? Search behavior is fragmented to all the different pieces of the search engine results page that I just explained. So, I mean, you really need to attack every single piece of that to really start building a foundational digital marketing presence.
I would inject the Facebook page as well. I've talked to HVAC businesses have literally built their business on just Facebook. I mean, that's it.
That's
and
true.
So, starting small there. You don't even, we want all those things. We're marketers. We want you to get, kind of fill in every nook and cranny and get every sort of lead out there from any sort of source. But to Mike's point, start with the profile and, Google My Business, Facebook. Start with those basics, foundations, and then build from there.
I've been doing social media marketing for like 14 years, and I somehow forgot to mention it.
No, you both
You're dating us here. I don't know.
It's the heat.
I think the other thing we all probably miss too is as we're collecting all these leads, get them into your CRM, your customer relationship management software, and start to nurture them, because that seems to be the biggest thing we all forget about. But there's two types of lists. There's one that we borrow that Google or Facebook or somebody else owns, and there's the really valuable one that we own. So let's get those in there and actually start to segment them and educate them. But just at bare minimum, we got to get first name, last name, phone number, and an email. We've got to get an email.
Please get an email, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like
there's that owned, earned, paid triangle that Mike just referenced. And your database is your biggest asset as
that's a gold mine.
So I would say invest in a CRM or FSM early on, like Mike just said, because that's probably the biggest move you can make as a business to really invest in your future and start to scale. You can probably run your business out of spreadsheets or QuickBooks for a while, but at the end of the day, you're going to hit a ceiling and you're going to hit it really quickly. And then you're not even going to be able to scale your marketing efforts. It's not impossible to do any true inbound marketing automation that has the kind of value that we were just discussing without a database.
I just wanted to hit on that, the fact that now that we're doing all this marketing, the other thing is we need to get all that marketing data into a software somewhere to track it. So how many leads are we getting from each source? What's the average conversion ratio, CAC or client acquisition cost? So if it's $100 per client it's costing us, for every $100 we throw in this imaginary vending machine, each perfect client kicks out. That data then eventually, I think Eddie talked about it or Chris did earlier, client lifetime value as well. But those are stats that when you have a software system set up properly and you track the lead sourcing, the conversion ratios, there's massive, massive value to that. So like when I sold my lawn care company, I had this database for marketing, which helped to the valuation big time. But I could literally go in a non-emotional math game and say, if you put X amount of money in these marketing sources, statistically, you're going to get this many leads. This is your closing ratio per lead source. And it's going to cost you this much. And they're going to last this long on average, as long as you don't botch it. So it literally, that is when I think business gets fun. We get past that 7-figure mark and beyond. Once we really figure out how to sell, that's how we can put some fire on the fuel. Or fuel on the fire.
And you've all mentioned what to do for companies or businesses wanting to reach the next level of growth. And look, if there's any more to add on that, we'd love to hear. But are there any specific examples of what's worked for your customer, your clients?
Upselling, and the easiest thing is we call it 20 days to close, but an estimate follow-up that's using that omni-channel marketing, email, text, and believe it or not, if we're not doing the ringless voicemail, I'm a ticket or to do with a call script for someone to physically pick the phone up and call.
Nice.
It just works still.
It works, yeah.
That's a key. As you get more competitive, a more competitive market or industry, it's the businesses that are thinking beyond that immediate lead, and they're thinking, not just the nurture, but using that data, to their point, to leverage, to upsell them, to retarget into a different service, to make sure they're aware of that equipment, and then schedule that timing to hit them with the right message at the right time. Or to your point, we get a lot of those quoted but did not buy kind of customers that they went out to the house, they had that quote. It's don't let that go. Build, nurture those leads. And I think as businesses think on those sort of next steps and kind of use that data to their benefit, those are the ones that you tend to have just a little bit more of a competitive advantage there.
And I can think of a few more too. So, particularly in the HVAC home services space, focusing on service to installation conversions, right? So 70 to 80% of your phone calls or form fills are going to be service calls, right? So how do you take those and turn those into higher ticket purchases, turn them into installations?
Yeah.
Mastering that conversion process where you're able to go in, have the kitchen table conversation, show those value pieces to the homeowner, and properly gauge the life of their system and help them make an educated purchase right there at the kitchen table. being able to take that and turn that into an installation sale is massive for scaling and really getting to that next level. I'd say offering options on service, it may be a good, better, best scenario, so the consumer feels like they're making that choice. Offering financing at every turn in your messaging that you're able to, obviously within the realm of compliance with your financing provider. All of those things make your services more accessible, and they also make them easier for the consumer to understand and easier for you to monetize. So like being able to take that marketing messaging and then turn it into a phone call, a conversion into a higher level sale that's going to be more revenue for your company really is a major key to success.
Awesome.
Nice.
And before we start wrapping it up here, if you are listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, man, all these awesome strategies and automations and stuff are really cool, but I'm not sure if I can do that. If you're using Service Autopilot, Service Autopilot's automations can handle a lot of this stuff. Becca, I'll let you talk more about that. But on the Field Edge side, we liked what Service Autopilot did so much. We kind of were influenced, I'll say. But we just launched Marketing Edge. So being able to use those data points, like Eddie was talking about earlier, things like installation dates and then triggering email campaigns and stuff based off of the data points that you have in your database. It's that stuff that you can start doing in Field Edge now. So I don't want to end this without plugging it a little bit, but it's super cool. It's one of the biggest features that we've dropped that I'm very proud of. Becca, I'll let you talk a little bit about the automations on the Service Autopilot side.
Oh, yeah. Like Mike, you mentioned earlier, so automations is a built-in functionality within our software, Service Autopilot. It's a powerful, very powerful tool. And I mean, it's changed a lot of people's lives. So you could create a series of tasks within a workflow to set them to run automatically. Just some high-level stuff for like your invoice emails, tasks, tickets, estimates, sales pipeline, marketing, upsell, emails, content, all that stuff and more. It's an amazing tool. I know, Mike, you do a lot more. Well, I mean, you do amazing things with automations on the SimpleGrowth side. But just the time, I think the biggest thing I've heard from customers is the time it saves them is worth everything. Your time is valuable. That time can be spent on so many other tasks in your business. So yeah, automations at Service Autopilot, check it out.
Yeah, with a decent sized business, we see about 30 to 35 hours a week of manual repetitive tasks. Saved through a fully automated system on the platform. One of the things we didn't hit on, but like for quick 30 seconds, we've been talking about this digital play. So if you're using a reoccurring service or maintenance service, you want to build route density. In my opinion, it's really digital is that our Facebook, all the digital stuff, that's a digital net. You're going to cast that across your market area, but it's not building route density. So through the automations, we can tie into products like SendJim and actually do offline marketing. Property area specific. So we're looking at the areas we're in. So we're covering a whole area, but our offline direct mailing is actually going to go in and help build route density. And I don't know about you guys, but looking at my mailbox, I haven't seen a direct mail piece in probably the last 3 or 4 months. So you are going to stand out. So it's a combination of digital and offline to build that route density. It's really, if you got a reoccurring service, it's all available inside Service Autopilot to happen automatically.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tools, especially when you were all speaking about the thing that stood out to me most was intention. That's something I heard in variations of know your intention with marketing, because I speak to a lot of new customers coming to Service Autopilot and they have no idea how to even start. So market research, is that something you all help with as well? Just market research, know your region, know who you're marketing to, know the income of the neighborhoods you're in, all that kind of good stuff. Build the strategy and then let's automate that to just take that off your plate.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You have to see what's going to be effective. I mean, just in how we buy media or buy digital, it's we want to make sure we're using those tools effectively and not having waste. That's the biggest thing we sort of see is if you've done that profile, like Mike said, of who is your target customer, your ideal customer profile, what type of tool would be best, to achieve and to reach that type of consumer. So yeah, absolutely. It's making sure you're, using those, using tools of marketing to kind of reach those customers. And then on the other side, using automation tools to make sure you're getting the most out of, every touch point and every customer you acquire.
Awesome. Yeah, we do as well look at that as well. And something I think we just need to be aware of is with AI and ChatGPT, there's a lot of things coming in. Those are great tools to get you going, but to be able to make it personal and actually attack that specific avatar's pain points and what they're trying to do. We just still want to get in there and actually do some of the work, because the temptation is to click that button and have the copy spit out. It's going to convert probably better if we really take what that spit out and customize it down if you're going to go down that road. And a lot of the softwares right now are having those AI integrations. So that's a cautionary tale, because we're seeing some people who have opted for the easy way out, and their conversion ratios are actually starting to dip.
Just dovetailing off what you just said, Mike, like we haven't really, like, we're avoiding using, we're using generative AI for a lot of stuff, but we're avoiding using it as a replacement for SEO copywriting. And that's because Google has in its quality rater guidelines a thing called EEAT, experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And that's how Google is algorithmically deciding what is useful to the end user. And there's a lot of conflicting schools of thought on whether generative AI content even meets that guideline. So I would recommend kind of, just kind of like, since generative AI came up, I would recommend keeping that out of your SEO content for now until you have a really good, solid grasp on like what that even means. But there, there's a lot of other ways to use it. You can use it to help make your optimizations more efficient. You can use it for copywriting and things like that. But I would also I echo what Mike just said is, do not just take that output from those generative AI engines and just cut and paste it in your communications. You're not going to see the kind of results that you would see if you took a thoughtful approach to, again, telling your story, expressing your value, and ultimately trying to connect with the consumer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really glad that came up organically. I didn't think we were going to have time to talk about AI and stuff before we ran out of time.
Yeah, we're going to have
Mike,
to,
thanks for bringing us into the room.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
We might have to ask our producers for part 2. I have a whole bunch of AI questions. We might need a part 2 on this for marketing and automations for real.
We'd be interested in participating in that. I mean, Google just announced generative AI for search like 2 weeks ago at Google I/O, and it's going to be such a game changer. You guys had a question here about what the future is actually going to look like, and it's really going to change how people behave. I feel like, and it's really going to make search completely different.
We have come to the end, but yeah, we'll definitely have to look at a part 2 on this with AI, because that is going to be a game changer in a lot of things in the industry. Mike, Eddie, and Chris, thank you so much for being guests with us today on the Profit Roadmap. Mike, if people want to learn more about you and SimpleGrowth, where can they find you? Plug all the socials, emails, contact information.
Real quick and easy, SimpleGrowth Systems with an S.com. If you're a user of Service Autopilot, go into the users group. Myself and the team are in there literally answering questions and giving the answers away right there, as we've learned over the last 25, 26 years of running my lawn care business and their businesses they've ran. We're in the mindset of abundance. So we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to tell you how to do it. And if you need help or you don't have time, come find us.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And how about you, Eddie and Chris? Where can people learn more about Mediagistic and yourselves and all the good marketing techniques and things to get started?
Yeah, you can connect with us at Mediagistic.com. No S, unlike what Mike just said. So no S, Mediagistic. We get a lot of Mediagistics. And we're on all major social media channels. You can connect with us on our website, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and all major social media sites.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the Profit Roadmap. And remember, you can listen to this show on all major streaming platforms, including Apple, YouTube, and Spotify, and more. Be sure to visit our show notes at serviceautopilot.com/podcast to get the links to all topics we discussed today. Got questions? If you have guest recommendations or want to be in the show, email us at profitroadmap@exploretechnologies.com. Explore is spelled XPLOR. And if you enjoyed today's show, please tell a friend. Thank you all.